Hello, well, you listeners out there, you've got a mini episode right in the middle of July of That's Auntertainment, ready for you to listen to, because the Emmy nominations have been announced, and I have some thoughts, Aunt Beth has some thoughts, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm also going to tell you what I'm watching. This is a dual mini episode. It's an Emmy nomination reaction, and what's Jeff watching. So let's get right to it, because I am, of course, your pop culture maven, Jeff Malone. As this is a mini episode, Aunt Beth is not here, but as I mentioned, she sent some thoughts. So okay, well, let's get to it, because, so the Emmy nominations were announced for the 75th Primetime Emmy Awards on July 12th, 2023. That was a Wednesday. It was 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. No, wait a minute. 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Daylight Time, rather. Excuse me. We're still in Daylight Savings Time. Anyway, so there's a lot of TV. And a lot of it was nominated for Emmys this year, believe it or not. So, you can go on Emmys.com or Wikipedia.org to see all of the nominees. Well, Wikipedia doesn't list every single category. You have to go to the Emmys website for that. So if you want to do that, I'll let you go there. This is just a preview. If I were to react to every single category, that would be that would not be a mini episode. That's the deal. So to keep this this podcast episode in a reasonable run time, we're just going to focus on the big stuff. So outstanding comedy series, the nominees are Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Jury Duty, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, Ted Lasso, and Wednesday. And then for outstanding drama series, Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, Succession, White Lotus, Yellow Jackets. And you know what? I'll say limited or anthology series too quickly. Beef Dahmer, M-Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, Daisy Jones Ampersand and the Six, Fleischman is in Trouble, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, so I've seen some of these shows, and Beth has seen some of them too. Here's what she texted me soon after the nominations were announced. She sent her 2 sets. These are her yes. Yeah, for Sharon Horgan, who's nominated for lead actress in a drama for Bad Sisters. Kerry Russell, same category for The Diplomat. Daniel Radcliffe, he's up for lead actor in a limited series or movie for Weird. Daisy Jones. Daisy Jones, the show, got multiple nominations, including its lead, Riley Keough, who Aunt Beth also said yeah to. Then she said, what about Sam Claflin from Daisy Jones? And then she said, another yeah for Jeremy Allen White, but The Bear is not even close to a comedy. I haven't watched it, so I can't say for sure. But yeah, I've heard other people say that, so there might be something to that complaint. Maybe I'll try to squeeze in at least one episode of The Bear before the ceremony, so I can just have at least some semblance of an opinion. So I believe those nominations were for season 1 of The Bear, which came out last year. Meanwhile, season 2 just arrived, I think, this June of 2023, so they'll be eligible for next year, but fans of the show will likely have already seen both seasons in their entirety. So, anyway, Aunt Beth had a few more thoughts. She said she didn't see The Last of Us, Beef, or Succession. She only watched the first season of Succession. She said too much Succession, and she didn't think every single actor from The White Lotus needed to be nominated, even though she enjoyed it. She can't think of anyone who was left out. yeah, so other than Sam Claflin, I guess she's not too upset about any snubs. And, I mean, just in the era of peak TV or beyond peak TV, I don't see how you can really be upset about any snubs, really. There's millions of shows, literally millions of TV shows every year, and the most any Emmys category has is 8 slots. So we're talking just a minuscule percentage, not just TV, but good TV. So, there were definitely some shows that I watched that were not nominated, even though I thought they were so very worth watching. But that's just how it goes in this day and age. But yeah, I mean, so you can't have everything nominated, but it is, I do kind of raise a side eye a bit when I'm like, well, I understand why not every good show is nominated, but among the shows that were nominated, do we need to have 100 acting nominees from all that same show? Yes, all the folks on Succession are great, but can we make some more room, please? Anyway, so I would have thought that I do think Succession is the big favorite to beat in drama in most of the categories it's nominated for, but I think Ray Seahorn has a chance to break through in supporting actress in a drama series. Better Call Saul is definitely my favorite among the drama nominees. I don't think it's going to beat Succession in the big prize land. You know what? Bob Odenkirk, too, he might have a chance because there's 3 Succession guys in that category. Kieran Culkin moved up to lead. He'd previously been submitted as supporting in earlier seasons, while Jeremy Strong and Brian Cox stayed in lead. Brian Cox probably should have moved to supporting. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so I don't know. If there's some vote splitting there, maybe Bob Odenkirk finally breaks through. We shall see. And then Ray Seahorn. So, geez, there's, oh my God. There are 5 nominees for The White Lotus there. 5. Wow. So, I mean, presumably there'll be some vote splitting there, although I feel like Aubrey Plaza was the most talked about on that show this season, so she might come through. And then there's only one Succession nominee in that category, just J. Smith Cameron, because Sarah Snook, the other Roy sibling, moved up to lead as well. So, yeah, if there's White Lotus vote splitting, I think Ray could burst through. But, no, I'm leaning towards Aubrey at the moment. Anyway, is The Bear the favorite in comedy? Or is it Ted Lasso still? I mean, Ted Lasso's won the last 2 years. I've got the sense that the 3rd season was not as well received as the first 2, but maybe that's not entirely the case. I don't know. Is there still just enough general goodwill for the show for that to win again? Or is The Bear going to break through in its inaugural year, as comedy shows so often do at the Emmys? Or did Abbott Elementary get even bigger in its 2nd season? I think those are the 3 most likely to win in that category, that quackagory. Anyway, I am going to prioritize finishing Jury Duty. I've watched 1 episode so far. Amazon Freevee bursting through finally on the scene. Okay, but then the other really important thing to ask is there even going to be an Emmy ceremony? The writers have been on strike for a couple of months, and SAG-AFTRA, the Actors Guild, they just announced, right before I started recording, they just announced that they're going on strike as well. If they're still on strike come September, there's not going to be an Emmy ceremony. I mean, there was a Tony's ceremony, but that was different. It wasn't the stage, it wasn't the playwrights that were on strike. So it was TV production, so it couldn't be written. They just had to improvise it. But the people who are on strike, they're not going to show up to just be happy and get their trophies. That's not going to happen. So it looks like there's some potential delayed dates. It could be in November instead, or even January. We'll see. I don't know. These are some deep issues in the strikes. It doesn't sound like these writers and these actors are being compensated fairly. There are some well-paid folks at the top, but that's not everyone. There are some, people who are just trying to get by in this profession, and as far as I can tell, they are not being treated fairly by their employers. If they were, I don't think they would take just such drastic action. So I love talking about the Emmys. I love watching the Emmys, but I do not want to see the actors and writers just being forced into submission just so that I can have my Emmys. If the price of them getting a fair deal means we don't get an Emmys ceremony for 1 year, well, that's a price I can live with. So, Beth and I will have more to say about the Emmys in a few months. Maybe. We'll see. Even if the ceremony does end up completely canceled, I'm sure we will check in at some point to have some sort of reaction to whatever ends up going down. Okay. And then on to the What's Jeff Watching section of the mini episode, where I just let you in on some little secrets about the movies and shows and whatevers I've been checking out recently that Aunt Beth and I haven't had time to get through on the main full-length episodes. And here's this charming show that just wrapped up its second season. It's on Hulu. It's called How I Met Your Father. And if you love a wholesome sitcom about people, young adults, trying to get by, having love lives and friend lives and professional lives and making it in the big city, that's what it is. This is one of those shows. I mean, much like the show it was spun off from, How I Met Your Mother. It's essentially the same format, but gender flipped. But we've got new people, and we're learning new things about them. And I am always happy when a new episode is there for me to watch it. And I think if you liked How I Met Your Mother, or if you like just shows in hangout sitcoms, that's what they're called. If you like hangout sitcoms in general, and you haven't given How I Met Your Father a chance yet, I think you should. I think you'll like it. And I also want to recommend a movie. Even though I didn't love it, it's a comedy. I didn't laugh as much as I'd hoped I would, but I still kind of want to recommend it, despite my misgivings. It's called Joyride. It's about this. It stars Ashley Park and Sherry Cola as lifelong friends. They're both Chinese American. One was adopted when she was a baby by white parents. The other has immigrant parents. And they go on a trip to China together, and the adopted one is like, let's try to track down my birth mother. Well, actually, it's not really her. Well, she's not the one who decides to do it, but that's not terribly important. Then there's a cousin who joins the trip and a college friend as well, and they get into all sorts of shenanigans. But I think it's most valuable just as a piece of learning about culture and the culture of of China in particular, and Chinese Americans in particular, and Asia in general, and adopted people. What that is like, growing up, knowing that your parents are not your birth parents, and wondering, what are my birth parents doing? What's the deal with that? Will I ever know? Do I want to know? And so when it settles down and just really asks itself those sorts of questions, it's a valuable movie. So even though it's funny, I found myself walking out of the movie disappointed, but it's kind of stuck with me in a funny way. I mean, it might partly be because I have two cousins who were adopted from Asia, one from China and one from Vietnam. So, I may have felt a personal connection in that way. But I think there's a pretty good chance that every potential viewer of this movie has some sort of connection, whether it be you yourself are Asian American, or you yourself are adopted, or you yourself are related to someone who fits one of those categories, one or both of those categories, or just has a friend who fits one of those categories. So there's something to find when you crack that nut. So that's Joyride. It's in theaters now, and it could use the support. It didn't have that great an opening weekend. And of course, it's Wimbledon. By the time this episode drops in your feed, it'll be the men's final. We'll be playing. Will Novak Djokovic win again? Probably, but maybe not. Anyway, I love tennis. And who wants to take me to Wimbledon? That's the goal of mine. I've attended the US Open multiple times, but I need to go to England and see Wimbledon in person, and I gotta go to France too and see Roland Garros in person, and then I need to go down under. I've been to Australia before. I need to go back and check out the Australian Open. And who wants to go with me? All right, that's that. Probably do at least one more mini episode this summer. I'm going on vacation as per usual in August. Maybe I'll look for some inspiration. We had our pop culture vacation episode a couple of years ago. So maybe a sequel to that, or a mini sequel. We'll find out. If you have any suggestions, you can always let me know. You could email us at that'sauntertainmentpodcast@gmail.com, or you could reach out to us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Should we get on Threads? You guys heard about this? I think it's like Facebook's version of Twitter or something, or Meta's version of Twitter. Anyway, who knows? Anyway, so that's that. Emmys. Who knows? Strikers, stay strong. And all you listeners, keep your remotes handy and your eyes open.